If you're a United States citizen of this country, are you a United States citizen? Sure. If you do not answer the question, you will be detained, you'll be placed in your arrest and taken inside for you either can speak to us or we will take you inside. You have two options. I'm going to tell you again, or we're going to place you under arrest. Are you a United States citizen, sir?
Step out of the vehicle, man. No weapons, no nothing. Step out. Put your hands right here.
They said, this is a new administration. We can do whatever we want now. That's what they told me. That's what the supervisor, Guerra, told me. That she could do whatever she wants. It's a new administration. There's new rules put in place. And we don't just let people remain silent anymore.
A Border Patrol supervisor telling an American citizen that the Constitution doesn't apply anymore. And here's what's terrifying. She's not entirely wrong. Not because the law changed, but because the Supreme Court has made it virtually impossible to hold federal agents accountable for violating your rights. When there are no consequences, agents start believing they can do whatever they want. This is the story of what happens when that belief meets reality. I'm Brandon Grable, Texas civil rights attorney, and this is Clearly Established, where we break down the law. Sean Paul Reyes, who runs the YouTube channel Long Island Audit, was driving down Highway 281 in South Texas, and he reached a Border Patrol checkpoint. Not at the border, but about 80 miles from the border, and he decided to exercise his constitutional right to remain silent. What happened next lasted at least 30 minutes.
You're in an immigration checkpoint, sir. So your job here is to respond whether you are a United States citizen. If you do not answer the question, you will be detained, you'll be placed in your arrest and taken inside for you either can speak to us or we will take you inside. You have two options.
Sean Paul didn't answer, so they made good on that threat.
Are you okay, sir? You have some kind of medical emergency going on? You look pale, sir. Are you gonna speak to us?
Step out of the vehicle, man. No weapons, no nothing. Step out. Put your hands right here.
An agent opened his door, violently grabbed him, unbuckled his seatbelt, and yanked him from the vehicle. They threw his phone on the dashboard. Then they turned his camera off. What happened next?
I asked them, why aren't your body cameras on? They said that they don't need to be on. So I don't know why 8 Border Patrol agents would have body cameras if they don't even need to be on.
They forced him into the detention center. They demanded his fingerprints. And when he refused,
I was then told, if you do not put your fingerprints, if you do not put your fingers, give us your fingerprints, we're going to grab you and violently force you to give us your fingerprints. I said, no, I'm not going to give you my fingerprints. They told me, well, I guess we're going to be fighting then.
Sean Paul told them he wouldn't fight, but he wasn't going to give his fingerprints voluntarily. So they threw him in a cell. And when he asked what their reasonable suspicion was, they admitted.
They said, we don't have any. We just don't know who you are. So they had no reasonable articulable suspicion of anything, that I'm not a citizen, that anything. They just said, we need to know who you are.
No reasonable suspicion. They admitted it. Every time he exercised a constitutional right, they put him back in a cell, take him out, put him back in for over 30 minutes. And when he said he didn't consent to searches or seizures, they laughed in his face.
Look at them. Look at them laughing. Look at them laughing.
You have some kind of medical emergency going on?
Sick individuals. They think it's funny. Look at them. They think our rights are funny.
He seized his watch, his chain, his keys, his headphones. Everything went into a Homeland Security evidence bag. They searched him, his socks. They grabbed him by the private parts. And while he was detained, they searched his vehicle without consent. They went through his backpack. They opened his suitcase. They didn't cut it to access the contents. The suitcase was unlocked. They cut it because they could. Eventually, through facial recognition, they identified him, found his Long Island Audit shirt in a suitcase, and realized that he had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Their faces changed. Suddenly, he was free to go. But when the supervisor handed him back his phone, Sean Paul asked,
"How'd you get that phone? It was inside of my vehicle." I'm like, did you search my vehicle? You searched my vehicle?" And she was like, "No, we didn't search your vehicle, Mr. Reyes." I was like, "Well, how'd you get my phone?"
And when Sean Paul checked his phone, the video he had recording was gone, deleted from his gallery. But here's what the agents didn't know. iPhones don't permanently delete videos immediately, so the footage survived.
These idiots, these tyrants, these ignorant tyrants who know nothing, they deleted the video from my phone. But you can't, I don't know if they know this or they don't know this, but when you go into here to collections and then you go to recently deleted and you have to delete it from the recently deleted and use Face ID in order to permanently delete it from the phone, they couldn't do that, obviously. So I found it in my recently deleted. That is a federal crime.
They tried to destroy evidence, they just failed. So what legal recourse does Sean Paul Reyes have against these federal agents? Let's be clear about what they violated. The Fifth Amendment, you have the right to remain silent. Your silence alone is not enough to support probable cause or reasonable suspicion to arrest, detain, or search you. So when the supervisor said your job is to respond,
So your job here is to respond whether you are a United States citizen or not.
she was wrong. Martinez Forte, the case Border Patrol loved to cite, but look at the actual holding. The Supreme Court said that agents can conduct a brief question or two. That's what they're allowed to ask, but you're not required to answer. Any further detention must be based on consent or probable cause. They admitted they had neither. The First Amendment, in Turner v. Driver in the Fifth Circuit, which covers Texas, established the right to record law enforcement and government officials. So when they deleted Sean Paul's video, they violated clearly established constitutional law. Fourth Amendment violations, Fifth Amendment violations, First Amendment violations. So why would he have a difficult time suing them? Well, in 1971, the Supreme Court created a way to sue federal agents who violate your constitutional rights. It was called a Bivens action because 1983 lawsuits don't apply. And for 40 years it worked, but then the Supreme Court killed it. In 2022, Egbert v. Boule, Robert Boule ran a bed and breakfast near the Canadian border. A Border Patrol agent threw him to the ground, so when Boule filed a complaint, the Border Patrol agent retaliated by reporting him to the IRS. The Supreme Court said Boule could not sue the Border Patrol agent. Why? Well, Border Patrol involves national security, and courts shouldn't second guess them. Congress can create a remedy if it wants to. Translation: Border Patrol agents are immune from personal lawsuits, and it's been that way for a while. It gets worse. In Hernandez v. Mesa, a Border Patrol agent stood on American soil and shot 15-year-old Sergio Hernandez in the face, killing him. The family couldn't sue because the issue, of course, with suing federal agents is a jurisdictional one. Basically meaning if you can't show the court has jurisdiction, then the case gets dismissed. You don't even get to do discovery. And since 2010, Border Patrol agents have killed at least 360 people. There's concerns that the number reported by the government is likely underreported. And almost no criminal charges and no on-duty Border Patrol agent has ever been convicted. And now, no civil accountability. The Supreme Court pointed to an alternate remedy, the Federal Tort Claims Act. You can sue the United States government, but here's what that actually means. You sue the government, not the agents. Agent Egbert faced zero personal consequences. No punitive damages, no matter how egregiously they behave, the government cannot be punished. And there's strict deadlines and procedural traps. 2 years to file a claim, 6 more months after that to sue. If you miss the deadline, case dismissed. Compare that to suing state or local police under Section 1983, where you can sue the officer personally and a jury can award punitive damages. Federal agents? Nothing.
So I know that my Bivens action will fail. I get that, but I'm going to file it anyway. I'm going to appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I'm going to appeal to the Supreme Court, and they're not going to hear it. I get it.
And here's what makes this even more frustrating. The judges ruling against these victims know exactly what they're doing. They just can't do anything about it. In a case I handled, Byrd v. Lamb, a Department of Homeland Security agent, Ray Lamb, pointed a gun at my client Kevin Byrd in a parking lot and threatened to blow his head off, and he pulled the trigger. The gun jammed, my client survived. The district court ruled that Lamb's conduct was so clearly unconstitutional that qualified immunity couldn't protect him. He should have been held accountable, but because he was a federal agent, the Fifth Circuit threw the case out entirely. No Bivens claim allowed. Judge Don Willett, a conservative Trump-appointed judge, wrote a concurring opinion that should disturb every American. Let that sink in. A federal judge is saying, I have to rule this way, even though I know it's wrong. A constitution-free zone. That's not an activist judge. That's not some left-wing academic. That's a conservative Fifth Circuit judge describing what the Supreme Court has created. And he explained why it happens. Under current doctrine, virtually any new fact pattern is considered a new context that courts won't extend Bivens to cover. As Judge Willett put it, new context equals no Bivens claim. So it doesn't matter how egregious the conduct is. A parking lot instead of a home, new context. Stalking accusation instead of drug investigation, new context. And new context means no accountability. Now let me connect the dots. The supervisor in Reyes' incident said this is a new administration. We can do whatever we want. That's not just arrogance. That's a rational calculation. She knows Sean Paul can't sue her personally. She knows even if he sues the government, there's no punishment. She knows her body camera wasn't on and no one will make her turn it on. She knows deleted footage usually stays deleted. The lack of accountability doesn't just fail to prevent this behavior, it creates it. And when agents operate in a constitution-free zone, when they never lose a cent no matter what you do, this is what you get. Agents who laugh at the Constitution. Agents who threaten violence to coerce fingerprints. Agents who admit they have no reasonable suspicion and detain you anyway. Agents who cut open unlocked suitcases just because they can. Agents who try to delete evidence and only fail because they don't understand how iPhones work. Agents who tell the Constitution doesn't apply because there's a new administration. This isn't one bad checkpoint. This is a system designed to produce exactly this result.
They're the true sovereign citizens. You cannot sue law enforcement officers. They cannot sue them. They can violate your rights. They can search your vehicle. They can cut open your suitcase, search your whole suitcase, no probable cause, no reasonable suspicion, nothing. They can put you in a jail cell like they did me for 30 minutes, and you can do nothing to them.
The courts won't fix this. The Supreme Court has said it's Congress's job. Fine, then Congress needs to act. I reached out to Senator Jim Banks' office. He previously attempted to pass legislation that would expand Section 1983 against federal employees, the same remedy that's been available against state and local officers since 1871. I've not received any formal response, and that tells you everything you need to know. Congress isn't going to make this a priority unless you do. So here's what I'm asking. Contact your representatives. Tell them you want federal agents held to the same standard as every other law enforcement officer in this country. Tell them to stop allowing courts to throw these claims out on technicalities. Tell them to make federal agents personally accountable for constitutional violations. Stop the laughter. These agents laughed in Sean Paul's face when he invoked his rights. Stop the retaliation. Agent Egbert tried to destroy Robert Boule's livelihood for filing a complaint. Stop the killing. Sergio Hernandez was 15 years old. His family couldn't even get their day in court. Make them accountable. Because right now, federal agents are the true sovereign citizens. They can violate your rights, search your vehicle, cut open your suitcase, put you in a cell, and try to delete evidence. And you can do nothing to them. That's not acceptable.